Hi, everybody. Let's see if I'm on. Make sure I can see everything.
The appalling waste.
Oops, there it goes. Okay. Sometimes it takes a minute. I know I'm on YouTube. Doesn't look like I'm on. There it goes. Okay. It just takes a minute sometimes. Okay. Hi, everybody. This is day 1,713 days since Richard was systematically targeted for, well, he was murdered. And I know that that's a word I don't know if you're supposed to say, right? But it's the truth, and in the line of duty. And he was targeted for being a whistleblower, right? He didn't want to put up with the cartel-tied criminal activity going on Fort Bliss and in his unit. And it's all coming together. And he was targeted, and that's why you've seen the response that you have, because it is a criminal network. It's a criminal network that's international, crosses the border. It makes the Iran-Contra scandal look like child's play, because it's big, y'all. It's very big. And Richard reported the activity, and not just once, multiple times to CPS, to Washington, D.C., to FBI Houston, to the IG. The IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. We also are getting information that even ICE was deployed in 2019, July 2019. And wow. Gosh. So we know that Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks. Um, he- we know that his case is absolutely connected to the Walmart mass shooting. That's why we focus on the Walmart mass shooting so much. And, the Walmart mass shooting, when you have someone like Patrick Crucius that surrenders not once but twice, and to a Hispanic DPS officer, um, and you have the crime scene there, and you have millions of dollars of intelligence and law enforcement agency right there at the border. This should be absolutely slam dunk case. Here we are, that was 2019. Here we are in 2025. And the case continues to milk the taxpayers for everything that they can. It needs to be done. Thank God that they know that we've forced their hand, and um, I'm just telling it like it is. I'm not, I give God the glory for everything that we have accomplished, but we have forced their hand because James Montoya is he's Mr. 2028. Um, and anyone can FOIA his uh, statement of officer and his oath of office and see it for themselves. It's an absolute disgrace. You can look, if you trust what our FOIAs have given us, you can absolutely look onto our Facebook and just search James Montoya, the 2028. And so we forced their hands with the Walmart case, and with their absolute theft of services, of honest services, because we don't have a DA. We didn't have a DA, a proper DA, a legal DA with Bill Hicks. Okay, he was the usurper. He also had messed up paperwork, and both of them are engaged in document tampering. Um, it's just criminal. It's absolute criminal, which is deprivation of honest services. We pay tax money to have a district attorney, and there should be a district attorney. But the the Texas Constitution does not allow for a gap like this. It's kind of like the whole thing with Biden, where the Democrat Party, and this is where the Democrat Party really lost all respect, is that they kept on telling us a false narrative that Joe Biden was okay, and he's not okay. He wasn't okay. But they treated us very, very badly with all of their false narratives. Like he's the top of his game and everything, and he couldn't find his way off the stage. And they just, acted like we're blind, like we're dumb, like they just kept doing that hypnosis psyop on us. And it did, I don't think it worked. I think maybe on some people it worked, but on most of Americans it didn't work. And um, the emperor had no clothes. The emperor had no clothes. And so this is what they try to do in El Paso. They try to say that Bill Hicks was a DA. He's not a DA. He was a usurper. He did not properly install, and then proceeded to tamper with his documents to try to correct it. Instead of doing it with good character, and people would understand, and he could go through the Texas Senate and be vetted properly, and because when he got caught, the Texas Senate was in session, and then he would have to go through that kind of vetting. But he was a recess appointment, and he got in there so easy, and then didn't even install properly. I mean, it was all laid out. He didn't even have to go through an election. It was all just given to him on a golden platter, and he couldn't even install properly, right? And so, it's nobody's fault except for his own. And now they're trying to tell us that he was okay, and he wasn't. And this is why we have the theft of taxpayers' money in the Walmart case, and in Richard's case, and all of these other cases in El Paso. Why we have so much corruption? Because we didn't even have a proper prosecutor, right? We have corruption inside of the prosecutor's office. I mean, trying to tell us that the emperor has clothes on when he doesn't. And then they bring in James Montoya, who is elected. But when you get elected, you have to go through the process again. You have to sign that statement of officer before you take an oath of office, because the statement of officer is a promise to the people that voted you in, that you're not taking this oath lightly, that you're not taking this oath because you've been bribed, that you are doing it for the people that elected you. And he didn't do that. He did not sign a statement of officer before he took the oath of office, no matter how you look at the paperwork. And then there was clear tampering. 2028 stamp. Hello, we're in 2025. We're in 2025. 2028 is years away. So, that's nobody's fault except for his own. But now we don't have a legitimate district attorney. And then the news tries to tell us that the emperor has clothes, but the emperor has no clothes. And you don't have to even take our word for it. You can go and get your own FOIA from the Secretary of State of Texas. Many people have been asking for it, and he's in big trouble. And so we've called out his hand. And because we want justice for our son, and justice for our son means we have to have a proper district attorney, right? We have to have a proper investigation. We have to have a proper, uh, a criminal judicial system in El Paso to get accountability for our son. And so this is a motive why they don't want to move the Walmart case forward, because it's connected to Richard's case. And Richard's case makes the Iran Contra look like child's play. And of course they're shadow banning and hiding. Just look up Richard Halliday and what comes up. Our picture of our son, but illegally using it by Bob Moore and El Paso Matters. That's what comes up, because they're manipulating. They even pay Google, um, it's all manipulated. And here we go on every day, talk Richard, Richard, Richard. But if you Google it, you're not going to get it so much, right? You have to come directly here, or people have to share it. People have to share this. And so we absolutely have been shadow banned. We absolutely have been blocked, because we are calling out not only the district attorney's office, not only Bill Hicks, not only Montoya, and saying that the Texas Constitution allows for a holdover. It doesn't allow for this pause. It provides a holdover clause, and that holdover clause makes Yvonne Rosales the actual district attorney. And yet, because and we're keeping track of it, we're keeping track of her and what's going on, but she has been totally broken, and the only one that can fix her are the people, really. I mean, God, of course, but the people that are calling out for justice, to say, and she's a Democrat, right? But she is the duly elected, and the Texas Constitution hold over district attorney. And so, because she is the legal, legitimate district attorney, that's why we absolutely pray for her. We advocate for the people of El Paso to be law abiding, and call for her to put on those heels, put on her suit, come, come in, come in, and support her as the prosecute as the legal prosecutor, because right now El Paso doesn't have that. And so, not only have we been advocating for that and is showing all the evidence for that, I had a comment that says, I don't understand. Where's the facts? Where's the evidence? We give it every day. We post it every day. These are the facts. And the facts, too, is that El Paso doesn't have a legitimate uh, chief medical examiner. So if there is nonsense going on with the cause and manner of death and the death certificates, there's no wonder, because you have a cartel tied, illegal, sitting in that position, milking the taxpayers over $430,000 a year salary, to give you a fraudulent system and a fraudulent criminal judicial system. And it's very, very important who sits in that chair, because they are the judge of the cause and manner of death of all of these these major crimes, right? These major capital crimes, right? um or any uh accident, whatever, um, death that's going on. That has to be, you have to depend on the legitimacy and the honesty, the character of a person that sits in that position. And of course, that's why they get paid. I mean, so much more than the average person does in El Paso, because they not only have to have a medical degree, but also they probably need to have a legal degree. So it's a very big job, and you have to be a citizen to hold that job, a citizen of the United States. Your loyalty has to be to the United States and not to cartel activities, not to a foreign or domestic enemy of this country. And so that needs to be really vetted very, very carefully. And it's not. And the person who brought him in is Representative Veronica Escobar. And she's absolutely so dirty in all of this. She's absolutely, I would call her treasonous. I would call her, she is just really, um, really, really up to no good. Really up to no good. And it's all documented. And she goes back to her old play right now. She's been pretty quiet because, I think her husband, most likely, I'm very positive that this happened, that he was fired because he was the an immigration judge, a federal immigration judge. So I believe that he was fired, rightfully so, because they're very up to no good, y'all. It is so bad. It is so bad. And I understand why Richard said that to me on the phone over and over again, because words can express how bad it is. And people, when you say how bad it is, um, sometimes the brain turns off and you just don't even want to accept how bad it is. And it is bad. And Veronica Escobar and her husband, Michael Pleaders, is they're really up to no good. They're really up to no good. And it's so bad. And so you can fill in all of that, whatever your brain can take, because it is really hard to accept. But the truth is the truth. And so, and not only have we been exposing that, we've been exposing the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, which is also totally illegitimate. Now, the court itself is legitimate and it has a full county-wide jurisdiction. So, what do I mean when I say it's illegitimate? Well, because it's such an amazing court, and has full county-wide jurisdiction, and has so much power. The Texas Constitution says, whoa, baby, whoa, that is a really powerful court. It's a very powerful court, and it handles over 90% of all the cases in El Paso County. And so, not so fast. The judges that sit on that amazing, powerful court have to be elected by the people. There has to be checks and balances. And when you have that much power and that much entrusted to you, you must be elected. Okay. Well, the problem is not one of those judges right now that we know of, not one of them since 2015 have been elected. And so they are absolutely imposters. We have imposters sitting on a very, very powerful court. And it was that court that put out the warrant for Patrick Crucius, that arrested Patrick Crucius, and that acted in our son's case also. And they're illegitimate. Um, and sitting on a very powerful court that is not really allowed uh, to do justice in El Paso County because they botch every case. Right now, every case is botched. So we've exposed that. We've exposed medical examiner. We've exposed the DA's office, and we've also exposed the federal courthouse in El Paso. Can you believe it? The federal courthouse with Judge Guadarrama, Judge Cardone, uh, and Kathleen, I think it's named Kathleen Cardone, because they're a courthouse manager that has, absolute access to every one of the cases. These high profile cases, be it the Walmart mass shooting case, has access to these cases and manages the federal courthouse. Michael Mayella has a real problem, has a real conflict of interest. And his daughter is married to Patrick Crucius's brother. Okay, so he's the family I mean, the whole narrative that Patrick Crucius did not have any connections in El Paso was all a lie, was all a psyop. Again, it was all a lie. And it's not me saying it. It is El Paso Matters. El Paso Matters in July of 2020 exposed that Michael Mayella, the federal courthouse manager's daughter, is married to Patrick Crusius's brother. And it gets even worse, y'all. How can you get worse than that? How can you get a worse case scenario than Patrick Crusius, the lies that they're telling us about Patrick Crusius? And this is not, and I really, I always sound like I'm defending Patrick Crusius, but what I'm defending is justice. I'm defending due process. I'm not defending Patrick Crusius. He was there and he surrendered not once but twice. He was there and he has a connection to this cartel tied a group that conducted this operation. Absolutely, it's an operation. Um, and his family is right there in the federal courthouse, and he is severely uh, autistic and has a severe mental health conditions on top of that, since infancy. Okay. And, and they lied to us about that. And, God just put it right out there when he signed Pat C on his application for appointed counsel, which is 0000. And I'm not lying to you, it's right in front of me. 0000. Let me see if you can see it. 000. You see the goose eggs right there. 0000. I put that up because it just is so criminal, because that cannot be. That cannot be. That is absolutely criminal. And they use that to get Judge Madrano to handpick Joe Spencer, um, who demanded an open checkbook from the people. You know what the open checkbook means? Don't ask any questions. I can spend what I want. I don't have to nickel and dime it. I can spend what I want. And, just millions and millions of dollars. I mean, how criminal. It's just been so criminal. Okay. And clearly, Patrick Crusius's family has money, right? Clearly, Patrick Crusius had income. Clearly, he had expenditures, big expenditures. Clearly, he bought clearly someone bought the weapon and the ammunition. And what about those tactical electronic um, earmuffs, right? Who was talking to him through those earmuffs? Um, so, I'm not defending Patrick Crusius. I'm defending justice. I'm defending the due process, and it has been absolutely a conspiracy, planning behind it, operation behind it, and it gets even worse, because the facts are, the evidence, the hard evidence is that Michael Mayella, not only does he have a daughter involved in this, he has a son involved in this. And his son, Michael G. Mayella, I think it's Giovanni, Michael G. Mayella, is a trained cybersecurity um, a technician with trained hacking abilities. And he was in the DA's office with Jaime Esparza, with James Montoya during all of this. Okay, so you have Patrick Crusius, the Walmart mass shooting going on, and the family member, call him brother-in-law, right? Is in the DA's office with Jaime Esparza when Jaime Esparza is appointing, and I probably said Sam Madrano, but it's Jaime Esparza, the DA, that appointed Sam Madrano and Joe Spencer to their positions. And they're very close friends. They're buddies, y'all. They're buddies. You look into it, they're buddies. And then you have Michael Mayella, Jr., I call him, but he's a Michael G. Mayella. The federal courthouse manager is Michael F. Mayella. So, you have the son with Jaime Esparza, right? Mr. Buddy Buddies, and having access to cases that have been tampered with, right? That have been tampered with. And you have someone with a skill set that needs to be investigated on his, oh, on how he acted with his skill set, right? So not only was he in the district attorney's office with Jaime Esparza, and not only did Jaime Esparza have a conflict of interest in the case because his sister was there, and Jaime Esparza went to the Walmart mass shooting. His sister had called him there, and he walked the scene, interrupting the crime scene. That means he tampered with the crime scene. And not only did he do that, but he filmed it. He filmed it. Um, before it was secured and all the evidence was secured. So Jaime Esparza has a lot of conflicts of interest and even criminal activity in this. And here he was with Michael G. Mayella, in the in and appointing Sam Madrano with the open checkbook, giving him the open checkbook, and making backroom deals with Sam Madrano, with Judge Madrano, and Jaime even appointed Sam Madrano, right? And that is, let me tell you, this is what President Trump right now is up against, is that these courts are not following their protocol. That's all supposed to be random. Random people get appointed. And uh, Joe Spencer is the appointed defense attorney because of the application for appointed counsel. And so, he's just was so happy because he got that open checkbook, and he could milk the system. He could milk the taxpayers. That's who he could milk. And yeah, and so, and of course, Sam Madrano was put on the case. Their buddy buddy. Um, can't make this stuff up. It's just facts. It's hard evidence. And it gets even worse because Michael G. Mayella, not only was he in the DA's office, but he was in the El Paso FBI field office, right? With access to the FBI cases, right? And that's important because of Leilani Hart's confession. Leilani Hart's confession to the worst, that was notarized, to the worst type of crimes against children, to being illegally in this country, which, I'm going to divert here again because now we have a judge saying that President Trump, we have the Supreme Court backing President Trump up, saying he can absolutely deport these illegal individuals because they're illegally in this country, right? People have to stand in line, or they have to be vetted. They have to come in the country legally. And we have always been a melting pot. We have always, but there are presidents that have blocked off, like Europeans from coming in, or homeschoolers, or they pick and choose who they want to come in, which I think is um, according to their religion and their race and their origin. They pick and choose, and I don't know. I just think I think each individual needs to be vetted, right? Each individual, they need to come in and or to the off to the wherever you apply for the green card, and the consulate, and get vetted, and then enter the country legally. So, they Leilani Hart has a problem. She has an immigration problem, and she's been milking the system, and she's been committing crimes before Richard even was born, over and over and over again. She has not been um, a blessing to this country. Okay, she hasn't been a bless. You know, I always tell my children what my grandmother has told me, and my Bible lessons have told me, is that when you go somewhere, when you in your everyday life, you be a blessing. You be a blessing to the people that you're around, that you help them in the job that you're at. You might not like it, but you whistle while you work, and you're a blessing to them. And especially when you're visiting and staying with people, you be a blessing to them. You know, and so that they will want to invite you back. They will want to invite you back, whether you want to go back or not. But you have left blessing them and helping them, right? So, and this is something. You come into the country, and I can tell you this. You know, my mother came into the country at White Sands, New Mexico, where I was born, and became a citizen of the United States, giving up her German citizenship. And she has been an absolutely blessing to this country. You know, helps wherever she can. She's just a jewel. She's a gold piece. She's a treasure for the United States of America, because she's law abiding and helpful, and contributes to the economy, and volunteers and all of that stuff. This is not what Leilani Hart does. Leilani Hart, you know, confessed to the worst type of crimes against children, and she has a record. She is a convicted criminal, a record of causing trouble. And okay, so if you're not legally in the country, and that means that our criminal judicial system is not meant for you, right? Our Constitution, the Texas Constitution, since she lives in Texas, is not meant for her. She has to be deported. She has to be deported. That's, um, so they need to arrest her. There is every reason to arrest Leilani Hart. We've given it all, we've submitted it all, and so what does she know that she's going to reveal? Who are they protecting? We know that she's connected to the Mormons, and big time, and up to no good. And so, and I'm thinking, who made the calls? Who made the calls that are protecting her for big money, right? For big money. So, and connected to Veronica Escobar, right? So many in this group are connected to Veronica Escobar. And I told you, Veronica Escobar, everywhere you look, she's up to no good, right? But she's legally in the country. I think she is legally in the country. Was she born in the country? I don't know. I have to look her up, but um, you know, uh, I'm sure if she's a congresswoman, but I don't know. I don't know anymore. I can't trust. I have to look everything up, because we have an illegal as a chief medical examiner, right? Not even a citizen. So the amount of corruption is just incredible. We don't even have a proper legal DA. So you really have to be paying attention, and understand how deep this corruption goes. And El Paso's problem is not racism, it is corruption. It is absolute corruption. And racism is just in the playbook to divide people so that they could cover up for their corruption. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, so it gets even worse for Michael G. Maiella. So not only was he in the DA's office, and he's like has this skill set, this computer skill set, technician for cybersecurity and trained hacker, right? Um, but he, and also in the FBI with access to FBI files, but also with Walmart security, cybersecurity, Walmart cybersecurity. And now he's with another company. Oh, yeah, I looked it up, but for that handles contracts, government contracts, right? So, it is. There's so many conflicts of interest. And the government contracts are a really, really big part of this. That's why you have the problems with the ISDs, the independent school districts. Uh, it's about the contracts and about the entry into the system. And so, we have really, since 4 years ago, we have learned a lot. We have learned a lot, and we've been absolutely sharing everything that we have been learning with hard evidence, with the facts. And now it's a government by the people, for the people, and of the people. And so the people have to demand to have the law followed. And so that's why we're on every day. It's in your hands, right? It's in your hands. So and you see that the media, Bob Moore, is up to no good too, right? And he's tax exempt, right? El Paso Matters is tax exempt, and he's so political, which is illegal, which breaks the conditions of the tax exemption. He's supposed to be neutral and tell us facts, but he's digging into the fake play book. And Trump is the cause. Trump is the cause because Trump is the chief law enforcer of the country, and he is absolutely turning off the money spigots for the cartel tied operation, for the cartel tied groups, for the cartel groups, for the narco politicians. He's turning off the spigots to the traffickers, and he's absolutely, uh, you know, uh, you can tell that he's doing something because they are gnashing their teeth so hard, right? And he's after China, right? He's after China, and uh, so I'll let him explain that. I'll let him explain that because I tell you, it's just uh, this case makes the Iran Contra look like child play, and it's international, and and Richard, uh, he just absolutely looks like a hero, and so because people are starting to get know the case, even though we've been shadow banned. They're starting to know the case and understand the case better and better all the time. And we're not going to stop. We're going to keep explaining it. They are, calling in, and they have tips, um, and today, I just posted the tips of the Safari and the Pontiac. So the GMC Safari and the Pontiac. What was that? The Pontiac. Oh, did I put it? Oh, Montana, right? GMC Safari and the Pontiac Montana. We have a lot of information on those two vehicles. We put them up, and we are very, very grateful for the tips. And they seem to be involved in these cases, the Walmart mass shooting case and our son's case. And so, you know, I just put an example up there what they could look like. If you know something about them, please call 941-677-0060, because all of these pieces of the puzzle will come together, and any little detail that helps. So that is, we're very grateful for that tip. So if you can share it, that would be really appreciative. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. And I know I'm burning the midnight oil and into the next day, but it just can't be helped because when people are willing to speak. It takes time and you know, uh, just to talk, just to spend the time talking, jogs people's memories, and we're willing to give that time. Now there are other cases that are reaching out to us for information, and we have so much information and we have so much evidence, and we are absolutely working very, very hard for other cases too, that are tied to Richard's case. And so, first, I think the first thing is that this theft, this out and outright theft of the open checkbook that Joe Spencer has been engaged in needs to stop. That spigot needs to close down. And I think the people should be really focused on the Walmart case, because they are absolutely continuing to be robbed. And I think that, Patrick Crucius has almost 7,000 years in front of him, and the Alcatraz of the Rockies. I don't know what they're going to do about that botched case. It's botched, but that's what he's looking at. He will be institutionalized forever, and there's just too much other uh, um, aspects of this. Uh, and I'm not saying they're not going to recall it and redo it or whatever, but the thing now is that the theft, the what they've done with this case, with the open checkbook, that has to be turned off. That has to be turned off because it's millions and millions of dollars. And all they're doing will delay. Because, this is the thing. If they had a proper prosecutor, as soon as he got in there, or she, right, they could do a plea deal just like this and end the case just like this in one day. I'm serious. But they just prolong. Now it's April 21st. And I think we need to hold their feet to the fire on that one and say, Patrick Crucius right now, 90 consecutive life sentences for hate crimes, which absolutely is um, needs to be revisited, but not in this uh, what do you call it, the foundation, the matrix that this case is built. This case needs to be closed out, and then they can open up new things to look into what's going on. But right now, this case, the matrix is so corrupted that it needs to be closed down for the sake of the people, for the sake of the people, in our opinion. So so that's what we're really focusing on, is to say, look, Joe Spencer has absolute a lot to answer for, and they need to close this down. Um, and this fake, it's so fake news. This, even the New York Times, it's so disgusting. This playbook, Trump made him do it or whatever, and it's clearly, um, you know, by Democrats, sorry, by Democrats that are cartel tied, that, and maybe some of them are Republican. I don't know. Um, these are just cartel tied that want an open border. That's what I should say. These are people that want an open border. So, um, to continue their illegal business that they didn't have to pay taxes on, billions of dollars, right? And so, yeah, this is clearly and infiltrating our military to do it. So that needs to be um, reported on properly, right? Reported on properly. But it's a dangerous game for people. They've been very compromised. over the years. This has been going on for so long that so many are totally compromised, and they just can't do anything. It's so sad because we, have been working with different journalists, and they are so they're just compromised. They are just it. And then, of course, the retaliation fear. And so, yeah, it's a sad story, but, God's bringing it all out, and you can't stop the truth. You just can't stop the truth and the lies. You just can't cover up for the lies. They just raise to the surface. And so that's what we're seeing. So thank you so much for the tips, and thank you for sharing. And there's so much, don't listen to this fake playbook news about Trump made me do it. I can tell you right now, there's just so much evidence to the contrary. That's hard evidence. Um, be it the stupid manifesto, um, the timing of everything. Joe Spencer, we've listened to so much of his audio. He never mentions Trump as a cause, never. And this is years ago, right? He never says, oh, this is what it was, right? No, it's only in the media where he can try to mess with the elections or politics or cover up for his criminal activity that he pulls out that play from the playbook. Yeah, so it is. Uh, a real psyop going on, asymmetric warfare. It's asymmetric warfare, these psyop narratives. And so you have to be very vigilant and do your homework. And I hope you come here because we're doing our homework, and we're giving you the hard evidence, and so you can discern or know where to go yourself and get it, and feel confident in your stance. So thank you so much, and let's really push to have this Walmart mass shooting case closed down, and then we can move forward with Richard's case in a different way. But that whole matrix right now, it just needs to be closed down because it's totally botched. You could not do anything with it because it starts with Penny Hamilton, right? It starts with the warrant of arrest for Patrick Crusius by Penny Hamilton. And right then and there, you're not going to win in a court of law for anything if you're dealing with the matrix of that Walmart mass shooting case as it is right now. So it needs to be shut down completely, and then let's start doing things the right way, the legal way, the legitimate way, and have real justice, a real criminal justice system. So thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.